Ladies and gentlemen, that was the craziest round of chess I have ever seen in my life. 2, if not 3, if not 4 huge shocks and some incredible performances. We start with shock number 1. And it is probably a spoiler, but I don't care. Ian Nepomniachtchi. How many of you even knew he was playing? Ian Nepomniachtchi, with the white pieces, is playing Diptayan from India. Ian Nepomniachtchi, I will tell you this now. Grandmaster, 27-23, 2-time candidates winner, 2-time World Championship runner-up, playing a GM from India, 25-89. They drew their first game. Ian's got the white pieces, e4, e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6, and it's Ian Nepomniachtchi. Of course, he was going to play a Spanish. What else does he play except the Roy Lopez? a6, bishop to a4, knight to f6, the traditional main line. Short castles, bishop to e7, rook to e1, b5, bishop slides over castles, a4, b4, d4, d6, takes, knight bd2. This has all been seen before. This is the problem with playing the Spanish. It is well known. a5, locking everything down, knight takes e5, d takes e5, and now queen to e2, bishop to c5, knight to f3. Nothing. Ian Nepomniachtchi spent a little bit of time, maybe just calculating all the various intricacies. Nothing really to see. A white is going to play something like bishop out and rook to d1, and they will be fine. So we queen e7, h3 is interesting. You don't want this pin, but maybe you could have been a bit more active. Bishop to a6 now hits the queen. We have to drop back to d1, but now rook 8 to d8. Black is better. You have to drop back to b2. Ian Nepomniachtchi is just going completely wrong. Bishop to d4, queen f3, and now look at this. Boom. Bishop takes b2. And it's a problem, because if you take the bishop, I'm going to take your knight. And if you don't take the bishop, I'm going to take your bishop and still take the knight. So you've got to do something. Bishop takes b2. I allow you to take my knight, but my idea is queen e3. I target your rook. I don't know if you can hear the helicopter flying, but the crime was committed. Rook dd8, f4. Ian's got to go for it. He's completely lost. E takes f4, queen takes f4, and now the pawn is targeted. You just play c5. Black has a completely winning position. They're up a point of material. They won a pawn. They've got this 3-on-2, which they're now going to, force down white's throat. And the problem is as well, they're about to block in this bishop, because the bishop will have to go back, and then you will maybe not block it in entirely, but c4 is a killer. So we have to get the bishop out, but now I can take. Take, queen slides over. You cannot trade queens. Ian doesn't, but now look at that, queen to g6. Absolutely perfect. You trade the queens, and now you play rook a1, rook d7. Push, bring my other rook. You don't have enough. And this is still a problem. c4, c3. Bishop comes out. I can just go here. White doesn't have enough play. The bishop can reroute. So can I. You have to defend that. Oh. Now I'm going to bring my king. My king's going to come and we're going to win the pawn. King to f2, king to f7. h4, c4. Rook ed1, rook e8. The bishop comes over. c3. How do you target anything? You can't bring your rook to attack this pawn. You've constantly now got to worry about this breaking through, and you're trying to defend this, because this is your only hope at anything. g3, rook to e6, rook d4, g5, takes, bishop takes. We've given back the pawn. No, we haven't. Rook takes. We distracted the bishop. You slide over. Okay. Oops. That's defended, and that's under attack. And now nothing important is really on the dark square. You bring a bishop back. Oh, I attack it again. Defend. Looks like you're giving up the bishop, but there will be discoveries with check, which will be problematic. King to g8. G4. You probably still can't take this, because then I can take your bishop, and then you've got a problem. You can take my rook, and then I would take your rook. But that simplification is fine for Ian Nepomniachtchi, because he gives check, and now he wins here. And rook to d6, 46 moves, 96.4% accuracy. Ian Nepomniachtchi is out. He's gone. The first round he played, gone. He got a bye in the first round. One of the top players in the world, top 10, top 20 players in the world, gone. Round 1. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the theme of the day. The favourites, and this is why the World Cup is so fantastic, were struggling. This next match, oh my gosh, was absolutely ridiculous. The board is about to change colour. I apologise for that. I've changed my theme on chess.com and it's applied to events for some reason. So we've got a starry event. With the black pieces, we have Wesley So, 27-45, top 10, top 11 player in the world. And you might think he loses this game. This game ends in a drawn position. He's playing Titas from, I believe that's Lithuania? Yes, it is Lithuania. 25-48. We get d4, d5, knight f3, knight to f6, and c4. So, symmetrical queen's pawn, e6, and now queen's gambit declined, but not a nibs or anything like that. Bishop g7, a very classical 3 knights. We take once. This is good for white. And now bishop to f4. c6, h3, queen b6, queen to c2, and now g6. Which looks strange, but it is important for you to play it. Otherwise, you run into various problems. e3, bishop to f5. I drop the queen back to c1. Short castles. You might say, wait, hang on. Like, this is just, it looks very bad. You've got so many dark squared weaknesses. You do. But I can also play g4. Here, bishop to e2, knight b d7, short castles. Now you must take the knight, which you do. And now you bring the queen back. And it's a level position after 14 moves. No horrendous opening mistakes. Queen to c2 again. Knight drops back. Honestly, if you gave me this position, it looks very strange. You've got all of your important pieces on the final 2 ranks, and it's the pieces that aren't on the back rank are not doing much. But white doesn't have much. Like, you can't overcommit with this because your king's over there. And I'll be able to swing pieces in to attack it. So e4, important central break, takes, bishop takes. Now we get knight to f6, and rook 81. Completely happy for you to take this. I need to defend this pawn. We play knight c7. Now we drop the bishop back to b2, queen to d7, and now queen to b3. Important, putting pressure on this and opening the diagonal for there. Knight cd5. Now the queen protects that. We challenge this. We challenge this. Game flowing at a nice pace. Bishop to e5, and now here, an inexplicable blunder. Rook fe8. And you might say, why is that a blunder? Well, g5 comes. And now you've got a problem. Your knight's trapped. You might say, no, it's not. It can go here. Now you run into knight takes d5. C takes d5. Queen takes d5. And if you trade, this knight will never get back into the game again. And yes, you have something like a rook a d8. I can just play bishop takes b7, or I could drop back and just keep this pressure. And your knight simply, it can get back in, but you've got to go here. Bishop c6, here. It's hopeless. It's hopeless. Rook fe8 is a huge blunder, because the knight can't drop back to e8. So g5, we play knight takes c3. Important move. G takes f6, sacrificing the rook, kind of. Knight takes d1, I take the bishop. That's what's important, because this knight's trapped. It can sack itself for a pawn, at the very least, which it does. Knight takes f2. Look at that. I don't even take it back. I move my bishop out the way to defend that pawn. You can take it, take, and now take. And we get to this position, and Wesley So is just down a bishop. But I told you this game ends in a level position. So Wesley So begins to fight back. Rook to d8. The pawn comes forward, we take it. Bishop takes. Now we've got huge threats on f7, but I've got queen g5 check. Bishop comes back, and now look at that. Rook d7. Wesley So is going to defend this. There is no point in resigning. You are out if you resign, because their first game was a draw. You are out if you resign. We trade off rooks, which is a huge decision, because now Wesley So only has his queen and some pawns defending his king. He does have 2 pawns for the bishop, which might be enough to hold the draw, but white definitely has the initiative. King to h2, h5. Weakening, but important. Hopefully you can use that to get squares away from the king and force perpetual. A3, there it is, H4. Check here. Not check, not giving a check and trying to pick up the pawn, just defending your king from checks. There are no real checks. You can go here, but that might not be the best move. King to G8, here. Now I've got to defend that or go all the way back to D8. King to G1. Queen G5, Queen D4, Queen G3, King F1. White's advantage is just, it's not going anywhere, but how does white break through? How does white find the right way as we give checks? And now the black pawns are coming forward. The black pawns are coming forward. Look at that, I'm offering you a queen trade. There it is. Bishop B5 check. Not even check. Queen takes D2, and I get here. And your hugest problem is these pawns are the big problem. G5, Bishop D7, G4. Takes, King E2, G3. Bishop to C6, King E5, King E3. Ladies and gentlemen, the game is a draw. And it is still a draw, despite H3. Bishop D7, H2. Bishop to C6. The pawns cannot move anymore. King D6, Bishop to G2. King to C5. B3, A5. King D3, B5. Bishop to F3. The game's just over. But they keep playing. You've got to win this. White's got to win this. Remember, your bishop can't really move. So you've got to go and win these pawns. But you've got to be careful because there are ways to get these pawns through. Bishop to E4. King to F6. King to D5. King to G5. King E5. King G4. Bishop to G2. King G5. A4. Draws the game. A4 draws the game. Because you have B4. King E4. And now you can simply play King G4. And there's no way. If you go here, then my king gets in and I force these through. So you have to stay close. It's a draw. Wesley So plays King G4 and resigns. The position is a draw. Because what can you do? If you want to go and win these pawns, I'm going to get through. Here, and then you go here. And now you plummet. Because you can go win those pawns. I'm going to win your bishop. Because I'm going to push. And you will have to sack the bishop here, and I will promote. You cannot wander off and try and win these two pawns. King to G4. Wesley So resigns. Two giants have fallen. There was one more. 2700. Just been invited to Tata Steel. I haven't heard of him a lot until I saw that invitation. Aravindh Chithambaram got a bye in the first round. 2704 from India. Playing another Indian. Karthik Venkataraman. Oh my gosh, something's flying my light. Who is on day 4 of chess, right? He had 2 games in the first round against Roberto Garcia. Arvind got a bye. Arvind with the white pieces. Knight to F3, D5, G3. And he goes for this. A pure King's Indian attack. Not the defense, the attack. D3, H6, C4, D takes C4, pawn takes. We get this early queen trade. It is a queenless middle game. Knight to F6, Bishop to F4, Knight BD7, Knight to C3, G5. Interesting move. Bishop to E3, Knight comes forward. I drop the bishop back again. Look at that. Now I attack the rook. It just looks like a crazy game. Until H4 gets played. Which I don't understand. Because let's say you play G takes H4, right? The idea you would assume is Knight takes. And then, your bishop is a problem. Yeah, you're right. But Bishop to H7 is fine. And you're weakening your own king. Long term. If I can click on the board. So, maybe not the best idea. Karthik plays Knight G to E5, offering a knight trade. which we get, but now knight to e4. Now you must take the knight, takes, and f5. And with no queens on the board, black is just using space and the initiative, rook to g8. Now I am threatening to take, which is a huge problem. What the hell is flying here? Sorry guys, I'm being like attacked by something flying in my room. Crazy, we're going to focus on the chess. Oh, it's a B. Sherbet. B just flew into my room. I'm going to just close the windows quickly. And I'll try and ignore the B. If it stings me and I yell out in pain, we're just going to continue with the video. It's right there. Anyway, rook to g8. H takes g5, h takes g5, and now c5. Rook to d8, bishop to a5. Rook d7, bishop here. White is going to try and do something, create something. You might think, why not bishop here? You've got to defend that despite attacking the knight. You're not going to really help yourself. Rook to g6, king to g2, and now bishop to g7. Now we're seizing the open file, but king e7. It's not worth as much. f3, knight f7, it's an endgame. How is black going to get the breakthrough? Like, we know they've got the initiative. Trade off a set of rooks, that might be good. But rook to h1, knight to f7, how are you breaking through? Like, you've got all the space, there it is. The pressure cooker. You forced white into a mistake. Bishop to d2. You can't really trade, but now I can play f takes g4. And this trade, and now I can get the rook in. And you can't really defend the pawn. You can try. I give check, and now I can maneuver the bishop, and I win the pawn. Black is just better. And now it's about converting the process. We can give a check, we can step out the way, we can give a check, we can give a check, we can bring the rook back. And now it's about converting. We continue to create weaknesses in the white position. We run our king, offer a rook trade, which gives away some of the advantage. It's not taken. Oh, look at that. Knight takes d3. We grab off one of the pieces, check, king over, and now we get this trade, first with the check and now taking. And we get to this same color bishop endgame. Still very much drawing chances for white, but it is so difficult when you've got two pawns on the same color complex. Now, you might think, wait, just take this. My bishop comes back, and if you trade, this is a draw. You have to keep the bishops on the board. So king to g6, now forcing the bishop back to d2, king to f5, king to d1, king to e4, king comes forward, bishop to e3. Now, if you trade, it's a different story because I'm in and I'm winning this pawn. Or at the very least, forcing you back. And then I can bring this, and you will eventually run out of moves, and you will be in zugzwang. So bishop to c3, but now I can go to f4, and I can maneuver, and I can maneuver, and I can maneuver, and eventually it works. A couple more mistakes, and eventually the pressure cooker, eventually, couple mistakes. These guys were low on time. Eventually. We've won a pawn. Eventually. The white king now coming forward. Is black going to win this game? They've got a huge advantage, but are they actually going to win? Where's the knockout blow? Where's the knockout? There it is. Now you're running away. And eventually I will get there as I continue to say it. And now you're running out of moves. And bishop to f6 was the final one. And you might say, why? Because anywhere you go, let's say bishop to e1, I've got e3. And this is the move I needed to play the whole game, because now your bishop does not have access to any of these squares. And eventually, I will get into... Oh my gosh. Sorry, it's on my mouse pad. It was right by my hand. And me and bees don't get along. And I don't want to attack it because I don't want it to sting me. And I don't know if it's got a comrade in the room. Sorry, I know this is horrible. Fast forward a few seconds, stay to see how I deal with this. I might edit it. Have any of you watched the Bee movie? I haven't. I don't like bees. If you do like bees, happy for you. Me and them are not friends. I don't know what I'm gonna do. What if I just pick up my cell phone? And just hope for the best? I'm so sorry. I don't condone cruelty to animals, but this has got to stop. Okay, it's dead. Okay. If you hate me for that, I do apologize. I don't know what else to do. It may have actually stung me. It seemed like it was dying. So this game ended. I've got 2 more games for you. We're running on 20 minutes. I'm so sorry. Getting distracted by bees. And that was a really long end game. But we do have to talk about... Actually, I can make it 4 games. And we'll talk about it at the end. 4 games. No game. We're talking about the world champion. We're talking about the world champion. And for some of you, that is raising red flags. Because I'm talking about surprises and shocks. We've had 3 2700 level players eliminated by what you would consider weaker players. The world champion's got the black pieces. He was unable to win yesterday with white. He plays a Sicilian. He plays a Caracan defense. D4, D5, and we get an exchange, which is typically quite boring. Bishop to D3, knight to C6, C3, queen C7, H3, E6, and the players just develop and play some theory. Nothing too fancy at the moment. We get this interesting idea to trade off black's dark squared bishop, which is their best asset. Knight to G6, takes, and now look at that. We grab again. How does Gukesh win from this structure? How does the world champion win from this structure? Well, he plants his knight in the center. Now we get knight to E7. You might say, wait, why not trade? Why not trade? It's probably not worth it because D takes E5 is actually quite good. Let's say you play like queen to C5, targeting this. I can probably just play like queen to G4. Your bishop still needs to get out, and it's going to take a couple of moves. And I'm readying like C4. And I can, ready it a bit more. So actually, maybe taking is not the best idea. So you can play knight to E7, H4 now, taking space. F6, which now means you can kick out the knight, and this is defended. That was the whole idea. Knight to D3, bishop to D7, that was your worst piece. Now you're developing it. Knight D2, rook AC8, rook C1, rook C7, and they double. Now how do you defend? You have to play queen to D2, but bishop to E8, and G3, and bishop to F6. And Gukesh slowly just starts taking the initiative. White doubles, but B6 is a big problem. What do you do now as white? Look at this position. What else can you move? You can't move either of these. I mean, you can move the rooks, but you're relinquishing a bit of defense on this. The queen's got ideas to infiltrate. Your knights can't move to anywhere useful. This knight's well placed. The only piece Gukesh doesn't really have playing is this bishop, but he can open it up very quickly. So we get queen to D2 and now queen to C7. How do you defend? Well, knight comes to F4, but now B5. Something's going to cave. Sorry. Something's going to cave, because if I'm allowed to play B4, you're in it to a huge problem. You can bring the knight back, and probably you should plug the hole, but it's not worth it. Like, if you plug the hole, let's say in here you just decide to plug the hole. E5, and that is a huge problem. Takes, you don't win a free pawn because your knight's hanging. So E5 is a huge problem. You can't take because you lose the knight. You don't lose the knight? What's the idea? Oh, E takes D6. That's crazy. E takes D6 is the big idea. Yeah, I missed that. Queen E3. Knight kicks the queen back, and now we have a threat of repetition. Gukesh has no repetition. Now the knight gets to C5, but it's a slight error because, as we said, E5 comes. Now you can take, with that idea, but they'll take back, and then your knight will be hanging, and you'll have huge problems. So you have to play b4. But now I can play e4. And you might say, what's the difference? Well, now I've got something to play with, an anchor. Knight drops back to h2, and now I've got knight to c4. I've got my own hole to fill, and it's a big problem for you. It is a huge problem for you, as we can repeat once, and now I can play f5. And Gukesh just seizes the initiative. f4 is a good idea, but it doesn't work. Takes. Queen slides in. Too many weaknesses, too many problems. Knight to f1, queen takes b4, I've won a pawn. And soon I will win a second one. It takes some effort, but eventually, my keyword for today, these players it's not good enough, as Gukesh just swarms the palace. Just swarms everything, gets in, and white just never had enough space. Gukesh just started taking away all the space. Look at that queen sacrifice, kind of. Not really, because if you take, I take. Rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and now look at this. Boom. Queen takes b2, ends the game. Why? Because you have to take, and then I would take here. And, oops. If only you hadn't played f4. And then you would take, and king to here, for example, and I'm going to remove your knight from the defense, push this pawn through, and make a queen. Or at least make you sack the knight for it. Here, and I'm going to rook b1, and you'll push this through. So the world champion wins with a beautiful, beautiful queen sacrifice. It was just a ballistic day. This recap was ballistic. I've got a dead B corpse next to me. Let me know what was your favorite game, if you've got any players you are following. Erdogmus did win his second round, so he's having a fantastic tournament. Faustino Oro, who I was going to cover, drew his game with Vidit Gujrathi, and he's having a fantastic tournament. Erdogmus has to play, I think, Ricard Report, who's still in it. Gukesh is still in it. Prague is going to tiebreaks tomorrow. Arjun Erigaisi won his game. Absolutely incredible. Ian Nepomniachtchi, Wesley So, and Aravindh, all gone. Same day. All had buys in the first round. They had 2 days to play chess, and that is it for them. And that is it for round 2, game 2 of the World Cup 2025.